some what I call crispy kale. It's really just a very dried out kale that almost melts in your mouth so that it's easier to eat. A lot of people don't like the really heavy texture that kale has when it's raw. So this is a great way to get the benefits of kale in a tasty format that, again, just melts in your mouth. So we're starting with just one bunch of kale, and I've rinsed it and let it drain, the water drain out a little bit. And now I'm just gonna pull off the stems. You literally just pull them off. It just saves a bunch of time so that you're not chopping very carefully out all of the stems, and you just yank it off. Because really you can cook the stems for this recipe, you just don't want the giant stems that can take longer to cook, that's all. And then make sure you just break it up into pieces. They can be nice and big pieces, it's okay, because they're gonna shrink in the oven anyway. And so this part goes really fast. It's gonna make about a whole tray worth of kale. Again, these are just pieces I've already destemmed. Making sure that they're, bite-sized pieces, because again, they're gonna shrink a little when they dry out in the oven. And then we'll just sprinkle some spices on top so that it's got some interesting flavor. And I'm gonna use garlic powder, Tabasco, because I like a little spicy, and some Bragg's amino acids, which gives it a salty flavor, but the nutrients are different than if you had just put plain old salt on your dish. But you can use other spices. I have used onion powder. I have skipped the Tabasco when I knew I was making it for someone that doesn't like the real spicy approach. And so now I just have a tray of pretty kale. So I'm literally just gonna splash some Bragg's on it, just a little bit. And I'm gonna splash some Tabasco on it. And some garlic powder. You don't need to get it all on perfectly because I'm actually gonna stir it next on the pan. I'm real big about trying not to have a bazillion dishes to wash because, that's no fun. Nobody enjoys that. So I'm just mixing it up in the pan, making sure that all the pieces have a little bit of spice of some sort on them. So I preheated the oven to 350, and I'm gonna put this in on the top shelf for 15 minutes and let it start cooking. I've set my timer for 15 minutes. And after 15 minutes, I'll take it out and I'll run my hand over it to stir it up a little bit, make sure nothing's sticking too much to the pan, and then I'll stick it back in for another 10 minutes. Depending on your oven, you will go through this 10-minute process once, twice, maybe 3 times if your oven is different than others. And so it really is dependent on you to decide how crispy you want it. I make mine super crispy, and I've already made a little bit so you can see it, and it's literally just, you can hear it crinkle in my hands, and then it just sort of melts in your mouth and you have crispy kale. And this is great as a snack. Kids like it because it's fun to eat. And you can put it on top of dishes like a salad or a pasta dish or anything else just to add a crispy texture to it. You don't want to store it in a closed container because the moisture will get trapped inside and you'll want to bake it again if you do that. But you can leave it out on a plate for several hours and just eat it, or at a party or something without it gaining too much moisture. Again, if it does get too much moisture and you feel like it's gone a little soggy, stick it back in the oven at 350 for 5 or 10 minutes, check it, make sure, and enjoy it again. And that's crispy kale.